All right, this is for matrix. Let me put that on top. Matrix. I'm going to skip adding and subtracting because it's very simple. So hopefully you can understand that easily. So let's just go to multiplication. Let's do some determinant and let's do some inverse. Now for the final, I'm only going to give two by twos as the biggest in terms of multiplication, determinant and inverse, simply because you could do all those by hand. So let's first do a 2 by 2 multiplication. So I'm just taking number, let's take number 3 from the worksheet that is attached to the Google Classroom. So that is -5, -5, -1, 2. This is all also available on your calculator. I'll try to show that on the video also, how to do it on your calculator. So first let's look at that. Okay, so this is the matrix. How do we do it by hand? First we gotta check this is a 2 by 2 and this is a 2 by 2. So because these two middle ones work out, that's it. That's OBK, and these two will determine the answer. It's going to be also a 2 by 2. Okay, so how do we do this? So I'm going to call this row 1, row 2, column 1, column 2. So I'm going to do horizontal circles here, and I'm going to do vertical circles here. So if I want to find column 1, row 1, like this position right here, I'm going to have to do -5 times -2. So the first number in row 1 versus the first number in row 2, and -5 plus -5 times the second number, which is 3. So -5 here times 3. That is going to give me 10 plus -15, so that's -5. So -5 goes in this question. Let's go to the next one. -5 times, so this is column 2, row 1. So I'm going to take row 1, column 2. First number in row 1 is -5. First number in column 2 is -3. So -5 times -3 plus first one from this -5. Second one is +5. So then that's going to be 15 minus 25. So that's -10. So this becomes -10. Okay. Now let's get row 2 going. -1 times 2, -2 I should say, and plus 2 times 3. So that's 2 plus 6, that's 8, +8. And then last one, but not least, -1 times -3 is going to be 3, plus 2 times 5 is 10, that's 13. So that's how you do it by hand. Let's quickly do it by calculator. In order to do it by calculator, we got to go to math, not math, I'm sorry. We're going to go second. I haven't even showed the buttons, so let me just quit out. So we're going to go second, matrix. Let's go to edit. I'm going to plug in this. I'm going to make it a 2 by 2. And let's plug in the first one, which is -5, -5, -1, and 2. After you're done with that, like after you finish plugging in, just press second quit or second mode, I guess, to get back. You're gonna go matrix. You need to edit the second one. So 2 by 2, and that's gonna be -2, -3, 3, 5. Second quit. All right. Now, how do we actually do it? So you go to math or matrix, and then in names, you're just going to click enter. So it pops up as matrix A times second matrix. I'm going to matrix B. Press enter. I got -5, -10, 8, 13. That matches my question by hand, okay? Everything on the final should be either done by hand or by calculator. You could choose which one. I recommend doing by calculator just to simplify it. So I don't have to spend time plugging in a question again. I'm just going to do the determinant and the inverse for the first question, which was -5, -5, -1, 2. So to do the determinant, it's going to be A, D, minus B, C. So let's see if that's true. -5 times 2 minus -5 times -1. So that is going to be -10. This is triple negative, so it stays negative. minus 5, that is negative 15. That is your determinant. Now, why is that significant, your determinant? Because that is your determinant is not equal to 0. So everything not equal to 0, that means it can be inversed. So negative 15 can be inversed. So how do we find a determinant? Or how do we find the inverse now? So that's how do we find the determinant. How do we find the inverse? Well, if you remember, the inverse is A, B, C, D. It becomes, and this is coming off memory, so hopefully I do this right. D, A, negative B, negative C. I believe that's how it is, or it might be the inverse. Ooh, let me just check real quick. Sorry, guys. Let me just check because I don't remember right offhand. Inverse of a matrix 2 by 2. You switch A and C, or you switch A and D, and you make those negative. Yes. Okay, good. Oh, I forgot one thing. So it's not just that times 1 over the determinant. And we already found the determinant. So let's do that. So 1 over negative 15 times, so I'm going to swap the places out. So this should become 2. This would be negative negative 5, so that's positive 5. Negative negative 1, so that's positive 1. And this would have been the negative 5 that was over there. Okay? Equals 2 over 15. That would be negative 2 over 15, because it was negative 15. This is a negative 15. 2 over negative 2 over 15, negative 1 over third. So what I'm doing is just to make sure you don't get lost. 15 over negative 15 reduces to 1/3, so negative 1/3. This should be negative 1 over 15, and this should be positive 1/3 because of the double negative. All right. So we have that. Let's check how to do on the calculator. I already have it as matrix A. If you ever forget what matrix A is, just press enter, enter, and it's like it'll show you again. So how do we get the determinant? So for the determinant, you have to go second, go to math inside the matrix menu. Don't click math, second matrix, and then go to math. DET, and then let's plug in matrix A. So negative 15, that's what we found earlier. Let me just see if it's on camera. This is found earlier. Now, how do I get the inverse? This was even easier. Go to second matrix, A over A. Now, what symbol indicates inverse is x to the negative 1, which is the same button you've been pressing for a matrix. So you just press x to the negative 1. That'll give you the negative 1 power. If some reason you forget that that's there, you could simply do type in negative 1. You could press like the caret button and type in negative 1. Enter. You get this. This doesn't look very clean, so I'm going to change it into fractions. So I click math fraction, and it becomes this nice fractions, which matches to my original problem by hand, okay? So hopefully these two videos help out with both matrices and chapter 6. Again, if you're coming in for help, please have your specific questions ready.